You just hit me with an idea for a poll question on our community page. I want to know who Michigan fans believe, first of all, who should be the number 3 running back. And then another poll this week is going to be who is better, Blake Corum or Donovan Edwards.
That's interesting, because I think it depends on where the ball is, right? Because if it's at the half yard or 1 yard or 1.5, I mean, I'm giving it to Blake Corum every single time. But Donovan Edwards, I think he can manage some of that too. But I think he's really effective on the outside, right? And being able to kind of take those perimeter runs. But they can also each other. They can alternate that too. Like Donovan could hypothetically run it in, and I think we saw that a couple times throughout the year. And Blake could be on the outside. So I mean that. I'm assuming we'll see it'll shake out to be a 50-50 towards the end, at least between those two. And then you also have Stokes, Cabana, Isaiah Gash, some of those guys. Maybe even you throw Khalil Mullings in for a 1 or 2. Maybe he gets to throw the ball again. Who knows?
Did he throw the ball in the playoff game?
He did not throw the ball in the playoff game, just in the Ohio State game.
Oh, yeah. They pitched it downfield to Colston Loveland, I believe.
Yep. That was fun. That was I think they just wanted to mess with Knowles' what he was doing and just kind of throw that wrinkle in. So when plays work, then you're a hero, and when you don't work, it's the Philly special. And you're losing to TCU. So that's the difference right there. And then you've got this situation as you alluded to earlier, Mark, like who's going to be the next Donovan Edwards? Who's going to be that person who's going to get the carries needed to then in 2024 become, because I think both of them, Corum and Edwards, could be going to the NFL. So if both of them go to the NFL, then what do you do behind them? Like because like Michigan's offense requires an elite or a very, very good running back. And Mike Hart's a great running backs coach, but he might move on. He's probably going to get opportunities. So you got to have somebody who can take on that spot. And I'm dubious that CJ Stokes is the guy. I've seen him in person at the Illinois game when we were all dealing with the 10-degree wind chills, and we couldn't feel our feet. But I saw CJ Stokes, and I was just like, I don't really see him as the guy. Even with a lot more practice, I could see a Cole Cabana or somebody else taking that spot. Not sure.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion on that, except for I know that when Blake Corum left the game against Illinois, that game in particular, and there might have been a couple other times during the season, maybe Iowa comes to mind for some reason, that I was not impressed with anybody that they threw into that number 3 role. I know Kai Stokes on one particular occasion fumbled the only play that he had the entire game, I believe. So again, guys ramp up their skill level and their comfort level during an entire off season of winter workouts, spring ball, and fall camp. And so they were recruited and signed for a reason. Now, obviously, not all of them succeed and become starting level players, but I got to think that they've got somebody there who's going to be either the guy that can step in, God forbid, Blake Corum continues to be hurt or have issues, or Donovan Edwards, where they need one of those other backs in the back room to be the number 2 guy.
Yep. So I think that's just a thing to keep an eye out. And I think and look for Cole Cabana to, Jim Harbaugh runs a meritocracy. And so it's going to be who's the best at the position. We know that Corum and Edwards are basically sharing first the starting running back. So then you've got Stokes in there. we'll see. I think Cole Cabana could overtake him by fall camp. I really do. But they'll be monitoring it closely, and I'm sure they'll be doing all kinds of competitions and stuff like Harbaugh always likes to do. I mean, he did it literally with JJ and Cade. If he could do it with JJ and Cade, then he's gonna be testing them heavily.
I was about to make the comment that I know Cole Cabana was a decent level prospect, but they have certainly not followed up the Donovan Edwards signing with somebody of that caliber, at least based on the recruiting rankings.
Right.
But again, there is Hassan Haskins, and certainly you never know about who could emerge as a frontline player.
Absolutely. Then of course you've got Isaiah Gash, who again I watched him. Nothing really struck out to me as super special. Khalil Mullings had a couple of kind of cool plays, including like we just talked about against Ohio State. I don't really think he's going to be the answer to the short yardage question. I think they were trying to mimic what they did with Hassan Haskins, where they brought him in as a running back. But I don't know if it's the same. I think they're trying to repeat that magic, and they nowhere near. But Hassan Haskins is, I think that type of fluke happens 1 in a million.